Oh, they've done it! Terodde, an instant hero! Can you believe it? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Blau-Weiß sein Leben lang. Herzlich willkommen zurück auf SchalkeMerica. Welcome, episode, what are we on, 178? 178 SchalkeMerica. I'm your host, Richard Carmen. Joining me as always, co-host Jack Mangan. Jack, how we doing?
We're doing all right. Apologies for the delay this week. That is entirely my fault, but better late than never, I suppose.
Oh, totally. Valentine's Day is in the way, right? So we gotta make sure
Absolutely.
we appease our significant others. So
yeah, close to a full week now from when this game actually took place. And in my opinion, once again, a decent performance from us, but not what we really need at this point in terms of where we are on the table.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. Kudos to shout out to everyone who's joined the Discord so far. If you haven't joined yet, check our Twitter and actually all social media. We've been blasting the Twitter is invite in there. So join the Discord. It's our centralized location to talk Schalke in English. But let's get into also some news, which originally I thought I was going to share this because like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I realized this just applies to Schalke. So Ichiro Kozuki named player of the month in January. Not for the Bundesliga, but for Schalke, which is, a fair shout. He was the man of the hour, came out of 2023. Some really nice performances, came out of nowhere, really. You could argue that Fährmann may be player of the month for the Bundesliga come here in February or end of March or end of January into February because 3 shutouts in a row for him. So, but good to see Kozuki getting some plug here for Schalke at least. I mean, he's been our best player to start the second half of the season outside of. I guess Fährmann's not really because he hasn't been tested, right? So
yeah, I mean, best player on Schalke in a given month is kind of like winning, fastest snail. It's not really an award that means much of anything at this point fastest in time. But I think if you're going to give that award out, I think it has to be Kozuki. I don't know who else it would be for January. Obviously, been the spark I think here in the Rückrunde. So yeah, well deserved, and hopefully more good performances from him down the pipe.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully there is. And what's up to TMWayX? It says, what's up? Yes, Mercedes Jenz. Yes, Moritz Jenz. He's been fantastic too. I mean, he's probably the co-player of the month for Schalke. He's been a fixture in the lineup and a big impact on the team ever since his insertion. The team has had 3 shutouts since he's arrived, right? So he deserves a lot of credit as well.
Yeah, Jenz mostly in February, I think. Rather than January, which is probably why it wasn't really in contention for that. Did give away a penalty in the Wolfsburg match, which we'll talk about. I think as far as penalties goes, on the softer side for me. But in general has been, I think, a breath of fresh air, much needed. No disrespect to Mitriciani, but I think there's questions about whether Bundesliga is his level to begin with, and then also just despite a couple good performances where he kind of I think probably exceeded expectations. He's playing out of position and not particularly well, and we needed somebody else to kind of partner with Yoshida. And as Eric Houston says in the chat here, can you imagine Jenz and Malick Thiaw together? I can, and it hurts. It hurts my heart, Richard. How about you?
Yeah, no, it hurts. And he's referencing the stellar performance by Malick Thiaw in the Champions League against who the hell did Milan play? Tottenham. And he was by far the best player defender-wise, at least for Milan.
So let's take a moment here. So you're the AC Milan guy. So, I mean, my understanding is Thiaw actually hasn't really gotten that much time so far. Or am I mistaken in that?
No, you're correct. This is only the 3rd game that he's played and 3 shutouts that he's been a part of. So
is that injury based, or is that just he hasn't been selected? Is that surprising to you?
Stubbornness. It does surprise me. I mentioned it as soon as he signed for AC Milan that I said he's automatically 4th best on the depth chart because they had 2 guys who are fixtures already, and arguably 3rd best, and the manager thought he was maybe 5th best, and so. Some managers have their players that they're stubborn. They like to play these guys, and the fans are like, "Why are you playing this guy?" But it's like a pet favorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's pet type thing. And so that's what we had with that. And then finally, the poor performances resulted in the fans screaming for a change. Malick Thiaw is one of the first guys you think of in terms of changing bodies because he's fresh and he's performed 2 games in a row. 2 games in a row this past week with shutouts. Was stellar in both games. So. Yeah, Malick Thiaw is starting to come around. I believe he's probably going to get more minutes now with AC Milan, and so yeah, look for him to start taking off. It's good to see him. I mean, I wish we had him here at Schalke, right? But
Sure,
good to see him progressing and get some much needed pitch time, I say.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Jenz and Thiaw would be great. If we had Itakura, that'd be nice as well.
Yeah. So many guys we lost.
We really downgraded, didn't we? But no, Jenz and Yoshida, I think, have been actually quite solid. I think you can't really argue against that, given what the scorelines have been, and the XGA over the past few matches as well. So absolutely.
So let's get into this matchup against Wolfsburg. As you mentioned, a third consecutive shutout, a third consecutive draw against a quality team. Wolfsburg, actually pretty much all three teams we played were in European contention, or if not in a European spot. Wolfsburg included to be one of those teams. And yeah, it's a lot of positives to take away for sure. There's some negatives too, lack of goals. But yeah, let me share the lineup real quick. I have it ready. I swear I do. There it is. Oh, there it is. All right. So first look at the home team, which was Wolfsburg. Casteels, fantastic goalkeeper. We saw this in this game. Otavio, Van de Ven, Bornau, and Baku. Baku is someone who's tormented us in the past, and Otavio certainly was good in this game as well. Arnold, who we all know, Maximilian Arnold, has always been a thorn on our side. Gerhardt, Kaminski, Svanberg, I know from Serie A, is a very good player. Wimmer, good young player as well. And then Vind, he's returning back to the lineup after a long, lengthy time away. It's a strong lineup. I mean, Wolfsburg always have to take them seriously. They're good this year. They seem to be good almost every year. But there's some guys on this team that have always been high performers for them, especially against us. Arnold, Baku, Casteels are just some guys that come to mind. Thoughts heading to this match against Wolfsburg?
Yeah, Wolfsburg are, a decent side. I think they had lost like 3 on the bounce in all competitions coming into this one, but they didn't look like terrible against Bayern, in that 4-2. They weren't bad at all. So I mean, certainly, and obviously almost anybody for Schalke this season is an issue, given how we played. Generally, I thought, Casteels and Maxi Arnold, first of all, those are, I think, 2 sort of bogey players for us.
Yeah.
It seems like every time we're playing Wolfsburg, like Maxi Arnold's doing something against us, kind of in the way, wow, his name's escaping me for Bremen. For a while, Max Kruse.
Kruse. Yeah, for sure.
Same kind of thing. But anyway, I thought Bornau was great in this one. I thought Otavio was pretty good as well. Strong stuff on the defensive end, I think, at times from Wolfsburg. And I think, obviously, if you look at the scoreline and then also kind of the performance in this one, the defense, I think, shined more than the offense in this fixture.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree about that. And looking at our lineup, not much has changed, honestly, in the lineup, except for one player in particular. Fairman in goal, back for Brunner, Yoshida, Jenz, and Uronen. Holding midfielders of Kroll and Kraus, with the attacking midfielders of Kazuki, Salazar back in the lineup, as well as Skarke, and then obviously Michael Frey. He's the man change. I guess Salazar as well too, but Frey in the leading the line instead of Terodde. Thoughts on the lineup and thoughts on Frey leading the line?
Yeah, same lineup, I think, to Gladbach, with the exception of Frey and Salazar, right? Because that was Terodde and Balanta, the new signing last time, right?
Yeah,
kind of playing in midfield. But besides that, look, I think, and we can talk about Skarke, because obviously he got taken out at halftime, and we'll talk about him in a minute. I think I'd be interested to see what your thoughts were on his performance, but I think there's some kind of an argument that front four, if we're playing a 4-2-3-1, central attacking midfielder, 2 wingers, 1 striker kind of a situation. I think there's an argument that that's kind of our preferred one going forward. I think Salazar has to be on the pitch as much as possible. I think Kazuki, we just talked about winning, player of the month in January, has been huge and needs to start as much as possible. Skarke brought in January. So he's been given playing time, a lot recently. Whether or not that should continue is we can talk about it, but so I liked this lineup for the most part, and I think Frey has been better than I expected, and I think based on this performance, for example, just he looks better than Terodde. And it doesn't give me any joy to say that, because I think we all like Terodde as both a player and a person. Yeah, kind of a sport, and we want him to succeed. But I think Frey's been better, and I think he kind of has to start.
Yeah, I agree about that. I see chat saying Salazar or Harit greater than Salazar. It's certainly from an offensive side standpoint, but Salazar is someone we've been lacking. He has that creative spark that not many of the guys have outside of Kazuki on the team, and so having him back in there, seeing what he could do with Kazuki was certainly something we were looking forward to seeing. He's been an instant impact at times he's been on the pitch. But going back to your Frey comments, yeah, I agree with you. I think he's certainly more mobile than Terodde, pace wise, and he tends to move around. Like Terodde is a poacher. He's a poacher is what he is. He gets in the box and he scores the goals. Frey can go out wide, can link up with the guys on the transition, and then gets in the right positions, like as Terodde does, and look good and look good in this game. I thought had a goal that was taken away. We'll get into it in a little bit, but overall, I like his insertion. I think he probably should stay in the starting lineup.
Yeah, good quick feet as well. Like really good in tight spaces, decent combination play, and I think a little bit faster than he probably looks like he is.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a little bit rangier than Terodde, but also with a lot of the same qualities in terms of being able to use his body and to manipulate defenders and some of his aerial stuff. So yeah, he's been promising.
Oh, he's saying Salazar's better than Harit. Okay, well, fair enough. He's what we need. And I think obviously Harit at his best, he's fantastic Bundesliga player, but he was very inconsistent. And Salazar is very impactful for us. He was last season. And this season when he's been on, he's been good for us, especially so far in 2023. But yeah, no, this is a decent lineup overall. I think defensively we've been solid. Whether that's because of Jenz inclusion in there, and it's kind of calm down Yoshida, that he feels like maybe he's a competent center back there. He can not do too much and can play more about his reading the game as opposed to trying to do everything for them. Jenz, certainly an aggressive center back, but he has the pace to make up for it when he misreads the play. But good lineup overall, and we'll get to Skarke in a minute. But the game started out. You always want to get the first goal in the game, always do. And 8 minutes in, we get a penalty. The man we just talked about, Mercedes Jenz, a foul gets called against, I guess, a Wimmer, I think it was. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? It's not a foul. And you look at the replay, he does step on him just inside the line. I'm like, soft. Yeah, I agree with you about that. I don't agree on the call. I thought they were going to let it go, but they sure enough gave him a penalty. And Maximilian Arnold, of course, the thorn in our side, steps up, and I'm like, shit, here we go. And post, ding dong, hits the post. And that's what we needed. I think that kind of woke us up, I think, because we started a little slow, I think, in the game. And as a good wake-up call for us, a very lucky one, Jack, but got away with one there.
You're not the first call from video review that went against us in this game. And when you're at the bottom of the table, these are the sorts of things that you feel kind of like tend to go against you constantly.
Asamoah did the same thing.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way this season, and has a lot, over the past couple of years, particularly when we've been in the Bundesliga, maybe less so last year. But yeah, look, it's a little bit clumsy from Jenz. He kind of rolls up on him. He does step on him, and it is barely, but it is inside the box, so you can understand it being called. It's clear contact. It's kind of like a foul contact, and it takes him down. It is unfortunate because it's not like it was a goal scoring opportunity, and I don't think he was actually even going to maintain possession of that ball. He was playing it off of his chest and didn't really control it that cleanly. So it's kind of like a weak situation to give away a foul in, and it's not a particularly egregious one. So yeah, I do feel for him because he's been really strong in general, and it's kind of a bad mistake and put us in a bad situation. But those are the things that get called sometimes. What are you going to do? And then fortunately, Arnold, who tends to kill us a lot, misses this one. I don't know if it was a body language thing. To me, on the replay, it kind of looked like he was trying to sell that he was going right. To Fearman's left, right, facing the goal. And I think maybe because of that body shape, he wasn't able to get the curl on it that he needed to from the outside, and that's why I ended up hitting the post and didn't bend all the way in. I think potentially, but super close and super obviously fortunate from our perspective. And you know what? Normally I would, maybe apologize for those sorts of things, like sucks for Wolfsburg, but in our situation, we'll take whatever we can get. And very fortunate to have escaped that one.
Absolutely, and I think the way the rest of the first half ended up going, defensively, again, solid. I don't remember any clear-cut chances by them. Maybe if there was, please, let me know. But we felt fairly composed defensively in the midfield. doing a decent job. It's just that attacking third, the final passing was lacking. Skarke not having really a great first half. It seemed like they were shading a little bit over to Kazuki a little bit. Ball not really getting to him. Salazar started out like a ball of fury and then kind of disappeared for a while too. What are your thoughts overall in the first half?
Well, let's talk about Skarke for a minute because we kind of teased that a couple times and then you just brought him up. What I will say about Skarke, here's my opinion. You can kind of respond to it.
Okay.
I think Skarke seems to have a decent offensive IQ in the sense that he makes clever runs and well-timed runs. I think he's much slower than it feels like he should be. And so often he like looks like he's going to beat somebody and then doesn't, or like looks like he's going to get to a ball and then doesn't. Yeah. And oftentimes when he has a couple steps of a lead or something. So it's weird. Like he's kind of been bright in the sense that like he pops up and seems to find a way to get on the ball or like get near the ball a lot. So you notice him, but it doesn't almost ever result in anything. To me, in this game in particular, it looked like he wasn't Bundesliga level, which I hate to say. Like this game in particular, it looked weird. Like he looked like he was just kind of like not at the physical level that he needed to be or something, which maybe explains why he hasn't gotten games for Union Berlin this season. But I mean, like I know there's play like Bornau had incredible recovery speed on. So but it's just credit to Bornau. I mean, like rangy and was able to make some impressive tackles. But yeah, Skarke, I don't know how I feel about him, and I wasn't shocked that he came out at halftime. How did you feel about his performance and about him in general so far?
Yeah, it kind of like summed up how I felt from him from the beginning. I mean, in the first game, I mentioned after that game, I said like he's doing good things, but he doesn't have pace. He's a little slower than I expected. And he got beaten a couple times, a couple plays where guys tried to lead him out for a breakaway, and he got caught easily. And in this game, again, it showed. I agree with you. His IQ is very good. He can make the runs. He makes the nice passes. But it's when he is expected to outrun a defender. I don't think he could outrun Yoshida, honestly, which is saying a lot. And so, yeah, I think that hurts him. And maybe his best position because of the lack of pace would be a striker because he doesn't need that much pace, like Terodde, right? Or even a Polter. But yeah, it's for being a winger, you expect the wingers to be fast. I mean,
do you think it's a pressing thing? Do you think that's why he's getting selected? Have you noticed? I have to pay more attention. Do you think he's better than like Bolter, for example?
I think the IQ thing too. I think he can press. He can read the game very well. So it's obviously that he's a good player, but we play a lot of counterattacking situations, and he's not that good he's not fast on the counterattacks, and that kills us. That kills the counterattack. Hence why you put in a guy like Bolter, who has considerable more pace than him. Bolter's not a fast guy by any stretch, but he's considerably faster than Skarke.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if it's a pacing. It's just I think Bolter is able to maintain possession more. I feel like Skarke gets into positions where once again it looks like he's going to be in a dangerous spot, and then it just fizzles out so quickly because he just gets overtaken or can't. Bolter has that not like Cruyff turn, but like cutback move that he makes all the time to buy himself space. And
he likes nutmeg guys too.
Yeah, they seem very different players stylistically, the two of them. And yeah, I don't know. I wasn't shocked that Bolter came out at halftime, but not necessarily like done with Skarke. But this game in particular, I was like, wow, I don't know. He's not. I mean, not that Kazuki was that much better because I think Otavio did a really, really good job on Kazuki in this game in general. But there seems to be a big difference between those two players as wingers in terms of how effective they are, how often they can beat their man, and actually get into a position to play a final ball or get a shot off.
Yeah, Joseph misses the angry tree. Man, the angry tree. Yeah. I do too. No, I mean, I think you would have to. Rice has to, look at the opposition, the defenders in particular, and the wingbacks, and see if these guys are. If you're playing a team that has pace on the way, especially in the wings, you might not want to play Skarke because while he reads the game well, he presses very well. He doesn't have the pace to be effective the way Rice and we need him to be. And so, I mean, maybe he'll be good for a half. Like, it's a good call to take him out at halftime because he was hurting the team, I think, offensively. Not that everything hurts us offensively, it seems like. But putting in Bolter in, I think, instantly you have a guy who can play both wings, a guy who's pacier, a guy who's strong on the ball, like you said, and seems to have instant chemistry with obviously like Salazar because he played with him last year. And Frey is very intelligent as well, so he can get into places where Bolter can find him. So I thought it was a good substitution there, but yes, Skarke, I like to see him again. I don't know if Union Berlin's the place to be because they got some pacier guys. They got some dangerous guys as well on the offensive side. So might not be the place you want to put him in. Maybe give Bolter another chance at the starting lineup. I know we'd welcome it. We're fans of him, obviously. But it's he needs to get faster. That's pretty much it for me. honestly.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the good thing is, once again, we have a fairly healthy contingent at the most part in the attacking areas and in the midfield areas. So we have options, which is it's always better to have options than not. So there's once again, we have people like Drexler coming off the bench. So in a decent spot. And we also have, as gets mentioned in the chat here right now, we also have Moore, who's still in the picture. Kind of Rice has come out and I think said that there's a couple things that he needs more to work on. And just isn't as effective as it needs to be. And also, like, there's just way too many wingers and wide players in the squad right now to be able to accommodate everybody on the bench and in the matchday squad at once. So that's why Moore's losing out at the moment. But I mean, one thing I would say in response to that comment in the chat is, like, I think Moore's been pretty bad this year for the most part. Like, not as effective as we expected. It doesn't really matter where he's played, like left back or winger. He just hasn't been great. So I don't think you could really say that his performances have merited more playing time. If you wanted to give him more opportunities in the second half of the season, whether off the bench or whatever, I wouldn't be against it necessarily. But I don't think you could say that his play has demanded inclusion.
Yeah, and I'd almost be inclined. We were talking earlier about how AC Milan are finally playing the youngster Malick Thiaw, former Schalke player. And maybe Sane needs to get some opportunity as well. I'd rather see Sane get opportunity and see what he can do, what he can provide. We've only seen maybe 5-minute cameo against Bayern, against his brother's team. So I like.
How much have you actually watched of him? Is what I'm be curious. I mean,
Sane?
Yeah.
Like in game matches, not very much. It's mostly been the highlights from the Knappensspiele that I've seen them. So I just
I was just wondering just because I mean, fully being honest, like, I don't watch a lot of like matches of Knappensspiele or anything like that. So like, I don't really have a great sense of how these guys actually look and how they would compare to some of the senior team players. I think when you're in the middle of a relegation fight, especially because I don't know. I feel like those youth players have to really be really promising to merit inclusion. And maybe because Kazuki's not like young necessarily, but like he may have been one of those guys, right, that just kind of like exploded and they're like, he's too good not to give him a shot up there. The players that are more fringe players, those are the kind of people that you bring in maybe when you're having a mid-table season in the Bundesliga and you feel pretty comfortable. You're trying to fill out the squad and you give some cameos to some youngsters and that kind of thing. They have to be, I mean, I'm saying they have to be pretty exceptional to in this kind of a situation. To put them in. And it's also really tough, like when there's this much stress on the squad because we think we're going to get relegated. It's a tough situation to enter a team into if you're a youngster. Like, you'd probably want to integrate them in a better situation anyway.
Yeah, and I think if you're telling me if I have to choose between Moore and Sane, I'd probably go Sane at this point, just because we've seen enough of Moore. I think we have a good idea what he is, and we want to see what Sane provides. But by no means would I put Sane as my starter, because I think Bolter and some of these other guys are better off playing than he is. Drexler as well. Drexler is usually plays very well for us. And so second half kicked off. We get a goal. Alex Krall gets a goal. But then there goes the VAR and they deem it offsides. Correct call, I guess, but damn, man, we score a goal, can't catch a break, right? I mean, good finish by him. I forget who got the cross, and was it Salazar with the cross? Who had the cross there?
It may have been. I actually forgot who delivered that. It was probably Salazar.
Yeah.
Super unfortunate. Wolfsburg held a tight line. They did that on multiple occasions. They caught us out. This was the first of them. It's a nice finish by Krall. It's pretty close to the decision ultimately. So it's not like it was egregiously offside. I think it was maybe Drexler had one, which we'll talk about later. That was significantly clearer in terms of the decision that had to be made. But this, once again, it just all these decisions going against us, and I think the penalty is probably a little bit. I don't know. Actually, maybe not. Maybe they're both equally confirmed. I think maybe the penalty is slightly more suspect, but it's tough. And then once again, these are the kind of things when you're down, you just need a break. Like, we take the lead finally, and that gets called back as well. So fortunately Arnold missed the penalty, which is luck that we needed as well, because the rest of it in this match didn't really go our way. I thought the officiating was kind of suspect in this one too. I thought there were a number of fouls called sort of in the run of play that weren't like free kicks or penalties or anything, that were just like not particularly great. Actually, when they ultimately blew the whistle for the penalty that got reviewed in the 8th minute, Salazar just broke him through their back line and was like going in to score. And like, listen, if VAR stops that, like that's ultimately going to be called back anyway because they gave the penalty. But that's a terrible moment to like stop the play too, because we were in on goal like inside 10 minutes and that play got blown up. It was just it was a frustrating game. I think
there was another play too where it was a foul against a Schalke player, and I think Salazar also again got broke through, and they stopped and like, oh, bring it back to the foul. I was like, what the hell are you doing? We got a breakaway. We got the advantage. Like
there was the arms from I think Bornau on Frey in the first half as well.
Yeah,
like, where he knocked him down in the air, like kind of right on the edge of the penalty box. Certainly could have been a free kick if not a penalty. They didn't. That one got reviewed. They didn't call that one ultimately. I don't think there was much of a difference between that and the penalty that they gave in the beginning in terms of like player didn't win the ball and went through the player. You know what I mean? Like, so anyway.
I mean, Rice and Asamoah were both at halftime and after the game were saying like the referees didn't make it easy on us. Everything was going against us. The plays that probably shouldn't, we should have got fouls called for, like we were talking about, weren't called. And Wolfsburg were getting some of those calls too.
Yeah.
So,
those are things that can tip results, but ultimately it's on us to get the results, and we can't rely on luck. So we have to just put the effing ball in the back of the net, if we can. And like, look, here's the thing: like the last 3 matches, these goalless draws, we have been the 5th best team in terms of expected goals allowed, which is pretty fucking good. So it's not just that like we're getting like lucky. We are overperforming our expected goals allowed a little bit, but even so, even despite that, like the actual XGA number, we're like 5th best in the league over that time. We're also the 5th worst in terms of expected goals scored. So it's just like polar opposites in terms of our defensive performance and our offensive performance. I'm not saying we need to balance that out. We probably need to keep that defensive performance up as much as can. And like, hey, clean sheets or one goal conceded performances are great for us. But like the draws aren't going to cut it. There's too much of a gap. We had too poor of a first half of the season for draws to kind of lead us to salvation. We need to find a way to win some games. If we're going to win, we have to score goals. And, I think we've been danger adjacent, as we've said. We've looked like we might be able to get in dangerous situations, but in terms of what we've actually been creating ultimately because of our lack of ability to find the final pass, it hasn't been there. We had 15 shots in this game. And like, how many good chances were there? There was like a header from Jenz. There wasn't a lot of actually like high quality chances that we created despite that shot volume. So it's really poor right now.
Since you mentioned the shots, I was going to say this later, but fun fact from Andreas Ernst, Schalke have conceded fewer away goals I'm going to read this over again. Schalke have conceded fewer goals away from home than Dortmund, Leipzig, and Bayer Leverkusen. That's wow, shocking to me. And most of the goals we give up are at home, apparently, which Union Berlin 6 goals and whatever games. Leipzig game I think was also the same thing. So a lot of goals given up at home, but away we're pretty good, and it showed in this game as well. You mentioned the stats. The shots, we were 2-1 in terms of shots over them. We had more possession, we had more passing. Most every category was better than them. Fouls, they had 20 fouls, we had 10, right? And they still missed a bunch of calls against us, which is the infuriating part. You talked about we needed some goals.
I mean,
go ahead.
I'm struggling to remember any high quality opportunities from Wolfsburg. I know there was one where they passed through to like Fairman's right, and Fairman came out, got big, and was able to kind of save it, I think, off his like upper chest shoulder, which is actually something I think Fairman's always been good at. Coming out and making himself big, challenging some of those shots has always been one of his strengths.
Yeah,
I forget what their second shot on target was. Like, I mean, if there were 2 other ones, I don't know. Like, I'm struggling to remember them even. So we really did a good job limiting those opportunities. I don't think their forwards like barely touched the ball in the first half. I mean, really impressive stuff, like in terms of structure and organization.
Yeah.
I think I think our wingers and our central defensive, we played like a 4-2-3-1 shape generally. I think our wingers and our central defensive midfielders did a great job coordinating on the defensive end. If there were moments where our defensive midfielders got pulled forward or like kind of pulled wide, I think the wingers came in to fill those gaps like pretty consistently to not leave those spaces in behind. So once again, I mean, like it's been, I'm very impressed with Rice at the moment in general. It's just like the offensive stuff has to change. And the thing is, like, when you watch the games, I don't think your takeaway is like, wow, Schalke's terrible offensively. No. Because it looks like we're close. You know what I mean? It's not like we're not doing anything.
One pass or two
it's not like we're completely inept in possession.
Yeah.
We're getting in behind. We actually had a lot of success.
Not like 2019 or whatever it was, 2020. It's not
for
like
sure.
That.
Yeah, it's just that, like, once we get to the final third, and it's those moments where it looks like we should easily be able to create something, and it just breaks down somehow. But yeah, and maybe it's a personnel thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe Rice can do more to improve on that end, but I think our performances in general have been pretty good.
I even dare say that the Tedesco era offense was worse than what we are doing right now. It's just like we're so close, and the movement's very good. Frey did get a goal on this one, a nice goal that he finished off. Had he not finished, I think who was Salazar would have been pissed off. But look at the replay, and this one is a little bit more cut and dry, as you mentioned. Drexler clearly offsides when he received the ball on the wing. Unfortunate again. I mean, we finally get some goals and they're offsides. Like, come on, man, we can't. I thought they were gonna use that momentum to keep going, but damn, man.
Yeah, bad sequence from Drexler, honestly. He's offside to begin with, and then the ball he plays isn't a good ball. It just kind of like catches everybody out, both defenders and Schalke players, and Frey is able to adjust to it well, set his feet, and score a nice goal. I think it was very good kind of improvisation from Frey there. But yeah, once again, the kind of thing that's just not going our way. But yeah, that one was significantly more clear of a decision than the crawl offside decision earlier. So I don't think anyone can complain about that one getting pulled away.
Yeah. Questions about, putting Keke Topp in as a striker. I'd like to see him in and like to see maybe in as a cameo, but we got some bulls up top that are good at bodying people off, holding up the ball, even finishing, right? Terodde, 30 goals last year. Frey looks like the part, right? Polter's a proven goal scorer in the Bundesliga. Kramer probably could do a good job as well. So it's hard for Keke Topp to get in there. And maybe, like I said, if you already got Terodde and Frey in the game at some point and Polter's not available, yeah, bring in Keke Topp or something like that. But maybe he's best served to stay where he's at and continue to progress and get better and better. I think Frey is going to be the one to crack the code, but it's got to happen sooner or later. I mean, if we're towards the end of the season, we still haven't scored goals, maybe you throw everything kitchen sink at it. But I like to develop Keke Topp very slowly. I don't know if he can have the impact that Hoppe had coming off and had a hat trick in his first game.
Okay, yeah, but here's the thing: if Matthew Hoppe is your standard in terms of like that's what we're looking for.
Last couple years, maybe.
I think you need to like recalibrate your standards a little bit. Like Matthew Hoppe did not set the world on fire. Like, look,
he did 2 games.
The guy arguably deserves a statue specifically for the Hoffenheim game where he kept us from breaking, the consecutive loss record or whatever, and then also scored a hat trick with 3 pretty nifty, clean finishes. And there were certain things I liked about Matthew Hoppe's game. I thought once again he actually was another guy who had really good sense of timing for runs and clever movement in between the lines and defenders. But in general, there's a lot left to be desired there, and I think that's been also borne out by the success that he's had in his post-Schalke career so far. Obviously, wish him the best. But yeah, I don't know if that's the best comparison. But hey, listen, yeah, I mean, Topp potentially. He's somebody that we can bring in for sure. I think Frey looks decent right now. I don't think that like Frey's performance in this game, for example, screams out that we need to replace our striker. But yeah, in general, obviously, Terodde hasn't been effective. Bolter, who kind of plays winger and plays striker, sometimes like hasn't been effective. We need goals. So at some point, if they're still not coming from the people up front, then yeah, maybe you give some games to other people and just see if anybody can kind of catch fire. That's kind of what happened with Kazuki, right? Like you put him in, he immediately looks like he's one of the more dangerous people. You just kind of keep rolling with the hot hand, and maybe that happens with some other youngsters as well.
I tend to agree with Sambo too. I don't necessarily think it's the striker's fault all the time. I think the lack of service, the last pass that we talked about, they look so good up until they get into the box, and all of a sudden everyone chokes. And getting that last ball to that striker is failing. Now, granted, some of the strikers have missed some quality opportunities. Terodde, Polter, even Frey a little bit, I guess, but in his little brief cameo so far. But ultimately, it's that last pass that's struggling for us.
Here's the thing, though. This is kind of why I want to see Drexler, because Drexler,
so whatever his last year,
whatever his deficiencies are, and he has some, he's the guy that like once or twice a match, when the moment arises, he will find himself with the ability to play like a key pass, a cutting through ball, and he's the guy that always seems to pull that off somehow. And I don't know. I feel like that's the kind of thing that we're missing a little bit, particularly in the final third, is the guy, or even like in transition moments, like the thing that'll really like spring somebody is that kind of a thing. And that's just been lacking so much. Sambo talking about Salazar saying he's the only player that can really create anything for us. I mean, I
Kazuki,
think to Richard's point, like he did kind of fade away in this game a little bit. But once again, a couple clever flicks, ball progression stuff, can beat somebody on the dribble. Yeah, Salazar is huge and obviously has a shot on him too. I haven't really seen that as much since he's come back in. But yeah, he needs to play as much as possible down the stretch. 15 games remaining. Got to make the most of them. Got to get a couple wins. You need to score goals. You need goal scorers on the pitch.
I don't know the health of Drexler at the moment, but considering Bolter has struggled this year, even though he's better than Skarke, for example. But what are your thoughts on seeing Drexler, Salazar, Kazuki up there? I mean, they're probably our best chance of creating a goal with any striker.
I'm not opposed to it. I don't necessarily think you have to start Drexler, but I'm at the point where I genuinely think that Drexler should be high in consideration off the bench in a lot of matches.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm not saying he's perfect or anything like that, or doesn't have things that he's poor at, but like it's his ability to find that unlocking pass is I think one of the strengths of his game, and it's one of the deficiencies in our squad as a whole at the moment and in our recent performances. And so if you bring him in, 65th, 70th minute in certain matches and, give him 20 minutes or something like that to try to affect things and pop on the ball a couple times, I think it's better than nothing. So, we'll see if that happens down the stretch. Once again, as I said earlier, the good news is we have a relatively healthy squad at the moment, finally. So we have players to choose from and options for the manager to kind of rotate through.
Yeah, and I agree also about the comment about the Rice. Bruner's been playing very well lately. He's been very solid, I think. And then the question always, Urinen or Oyan. Oyan has the offensive upside, and then Urinen's been better. I think he's better defensively, as we talked about, than Thomas Oyan. So it's you damned if you do, damned if you don't, I guess, in that situation. But I mean. We are lacking in some places, but we had a couple good opportunities that Castillo's came up big. He had some big saves. One on Frey or Drexler towards the end of the game.
He's always big against us too.
He's a good goalkeeper.
He is. I think he's a somewhat underrated goalkeeper. I don't think he gets a lot of credit.
Top 10 goalkeeper in Bundesliga.
I think his biggest save was maybe the one on Jenz, the header. That was like the reaction save. I mean, that was. I don't even know how he got to that.
That was a great save.
Absurd save, really good. But by the way, Jenz, pretty consistently dangerous in the box on set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Had a shot too that fell to him, like pretty nifty footwork. I think like he kind of popped it up to himself and like kind of like half volleyed it, which was also a save by Castillo's, I think maybe. So that's been nice to see that we get some production from our center backs, or at least danger moments. But yeah, Castillo's was great. And
3 of the back 4 plus one of our defensive midfielders are all good in the air, right? Kral, Brunner, Yoshida, and Jenz are all good in the air. In the box.
Those we need.
Yeah, we do need Naldo, right? Get him back from retirement. And it's funny, the only person really in attack outside of the striker is probably Bolter, who'd be good in the air. I mean, Kazuki's small, Salazar, they kind of tend to be on the outside and looking for a shot in. Same thing with Drexler and Kraus as well. So, but the Kraus seems to be getting in on the end of headers too as well. Last few games, he's got in there with a header, just showed him why. It's never on goal, it seems like. Kind of the who was it? I guess Weston McKennie syndrome, where he gets in the box and then just doesn't get on target, right?
I thought Kraus had a pretty quiet game offensively in this one. I thought Kral was actually the more impactful in possession than Kraus, which was a little bit unusual. I don't know, dude. What are like Hvides and Papadopoulos doing? Let's get the gang back together.
That's right. Getting Christian Pander for the free kicks.
Christian Pander. There's a name.
That's right.
There you go.
It's funny. Champions League had tweeted out and said, send us a picture or name any Champions League player. We'll send you a picture. I was like, Roman Neustaedter, and they provided the picture.
That was hilarious. You were trolling the account by going with Roman Neustaedter, and they found it for you. I was very impressed. Yeah,
it was 1 year. It was a good year, but the year we beat Real Madrid, the one leg. So now they did it. So kudos to the Champions League account for doing that. Next game. Man, we're already 40 minutes in. We're not even talking to our next game yet. Next game, Union Berlin, second in the table. They're giving Bayern a run for the money this year. 1 point behind Bayern. They've won 5 of the last 5 games in a row, at least, if not more. Keeping pace with our cousins to the east. East. My direction's all off here. But Union Berlin, last time we played them, I don't think they were necessarily super impressive, but they had 6 goals against us. I thought we were tight on them in the first half, and then they kind of just exploded in that second half. We kind of just gave up. We need to see a better performance, and we're going to one of the hardest places to play in the Bundesliga outside of Dortmund. Union Berlin is difficult at the Forest Stadium over there in Berlin. It's gonna be a good game. If Rice can channel some of this magic, I mean, clearly we look like a Bundesliga team defensively in the last 3 games. We have to look like that against Union Berlin because they have some pretty, it's a pretty good team out there. They're in second place for a reason. What are your thoughts going into this game? Because it's a tricky one. Because it's a top team, and we saw what they and Leipzig did to us. But we're on a bit of a run at the moment defensively that we could be able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, we're gonna win.
Okay. Oh, I like it. I like it.
I don't know. We have to win at some point. Why not now? I don't know.
We are recording, Jack. You know that, right?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I do. Hey, you're the one who predicts we're going to win the league every season. So, I mean, I don't know if my predictions are the ones that
we get relegated. Yeah.
No, listen. As you mentioned, it's one of the tougher away fixtures that you can have is Union Berlin. So, in terms of an atmosphere and environment, we know what to expect. But look, I think we're playing with house money. We're in a bad situation. It's likely that we're going to be relegated. I'm sure the players feel pressure, obviously, to perform and try to turn this thing around. But like, this is a different situation from when we were avoiding relegation from the first time.
Yeah,
like the anxiety, I don't think is the same level. The expectation isn't the same level. As Thomas Rice said, like recently in the media, like we're the hunters. You know what I mean? Like I think Schalke really have to play that way and have no fear and just go for it. And honestly, I think Wolfsburg, if you look at like the energy in that performance, not to be that like narrative-y, but like I think people are underestimating us right now. I think the last couple performances against decent squads, like once again, we've been competitive.
Yeah.
So much of the season, we were putting in performances that were not of Bundesliga quality, and we were just getting rolled over. The last couple matches, we have not been getting rolled over. We have been very much in it, and there's been, I think you could argue of several of those, we were probably the slightly better team and maybe deserved.
I think the last 3 games we've been the best team. I think the last 3 games we've been the best team.
So yeah, I mean, does that mean that we're suddenly going to go and beat Union Berlin away? No, it doesn't, of course. And they're second in the league. I mean, like this could be another performance where they bang 6 in against us, but like that's not the recent trend, and that's not how we've looked. So hopefully at a minimum we can be competitive again and maybe pick up another draw. And like, hey, we'll take whatever points we can get. We need more than
score draw, right?
Yeah, I mean we need to get 3 points at some point, but I'll take the draws over the losses for sure. So trying to stay optimistic at the moment, I guess. I don't know.
We need to see a good performance in this one, in particular because it's a 3-game, 4-game stretch, honestly, that we could take some points away, big points away, I think. So a good performance, I mean, a win would be fantastic, right? No doubt about it, get 3 points here. But a draw, I think, at minimum, we got to get a draw in this game, play well, because that if we can get another positive performance, we've been the best team the last 3 games, I think. If we get another positive performance in this one, we got Stuttgart and Bochum, who we should win both those games. We have to win those games if we want any chance of survival. And then we got the Rivier Derby. Anything can happen in that game. And then Augsburg on the backside of that. So
Bochum is so annoying, though, because like they're not good, and then they'll randomly have these like 4-goal explosion. Yeah, where they pick up result. Like they have 4 more wins than us.
That's crazy.
And like that's them. And like we don't. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's we have like I think like 6 draws. They only have 1 draw.
Yeah, but
they're just like win or lose pretty much. You know what I mean? And they found a way to get those results and have those goal scoring explosions. And we just cannot put the ball in the back. What have we scored this season? How many goals have we scored this season?
14. And they have scored 24, 10 goals more than us.
Are we the only team that hasn't scored 20 goals so far?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not good. 14 goals in 20 games.
We haven't given up the most goals either. Bochum gives up 8 more goals than us. So,
and we are, to be fair, we are massively underperforming XG. Not like by 20 goals or something like that, but by close to 10 goals or so. Which I guess there's something to be said there. But I don't know. I don't think we can be particularly optimistic at this point. That's going to ultimately balance out by the end of the season. I don't think we're going to go on some magical stretch where we suddenly overperform XG by a crazy number, for the last 15 games of the season or something. So, but as long as we can start taking advantages of the chances that we have and create a few more, because once again, we're getting into positions where it looks like we can take advantage of the defense, and then, bad giveaways, bad decisions. We just have to be a little bit sharper. Yeah. One thing I'll say too is like, I think there's in this game too, way more one-touch passing.
Yeah.
Like our tempo in possession much better. Like there's things to appreciate from what Thomas Rice.
We look competent.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, hopefully this isn't like the peak that we've reached under Rice, and hopefully this upward trajectory can go a little bit further. and we get even a little bit better, who knows? But yeah, doing decently, we'll see.
Yeah. I just looked at the last 3 games of the season. They're not good. So we need to do really well in this next 10-game stretch or so, because we end in Bayern, Eintracht, and Leipzig. Great. But anyway, yeah, we got to have a good performance here against Union Berlin. I hope we have another good performance, and hell, if we can steal a win, we need to be clinical. We need to take our chances, because they're far and few between, it seems like, and we just got to get a goal for I'm trying not to curse here, but we just got to get a goal, right? So let's see. Games on Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, 8:30 Jack-o'-lantern time, Jack time, Chicagoland time. So yeah, maybe we'll freaking do a live stream for once. First time, second half of the season. We'll see. We'll try if I don't get sick. But Jack, anything else you want to talk about today before we wrap this one up?
Nah, I think I'm good.
Yep. I would concur. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you check out our website. We're gonna try to put some more articles in here, even do pre and post match, post conference recaps, I guess, if you want to call it. But definitely check it out, and we'll try to keep up to date with that. And again, if you haven't joined the Discord channel yet, please do so. Try to talk all things Schalke there in English. Be your centralized location for that. So, Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMangan on Twitter.
There you go. Look at you.
Killing it in the Rook Runda. I think I'm like 5 or 6 or 6. But yeah, seriously, close to 30 of you, I think, have already hopped into the Discord. Better turnout than I expected in the first week. So yeah, we'll kind of keep creating like different threads and stuff to speak on in there. And yeah, hopefully it'll be a good community kind of off Twitter for us to.
That's pretty good, considering me with my newbie link, and I keep sending them the link that expires within like 20 minutes, and I finally figured that out. So we'll get better. We're getting better. Good and getting better, I guess. Shout out to the chat, everyone coming in tonight, talking up in the chat tonight. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Always the support. We love that stuff there. So yeah, and please jump to that Discord and give us any tips, anything you want to see on the Discord. Let us know. We'll definitely try to provide that. But you can follow me at _KHARMAN. Follow SchalkeMerica on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, so everywhere on social media. We stream everywhere that you stream music at. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to the website to the YouTube page, please, and give a like to this video. Be much appreciated. So for Jack, for myself, for Schalke Nation, SchalkeMerica Nation, we'll catch you on the flip side. Glück auf.